right. How's everyone doing? Hopefully well. Hopefully well. Well, welcome to the news. All right. It's a day late again. Tell you what. Everything's okay. Just had some emotional challenges to deal with yesterday. We did have a bunny die over Friday night. Apparently they do. So we had to take yesterday to take care of that. I was hoping to take care of it in the morning, but just took a little bit more time than planned. My parents came out, and I'm not allowed to operate a shovel right now because of my elbows. So that was nice, but it took up a lot of the day. So anyways, we're here again. Next week, it's going to be Saturday. Almost guaranteed. Dude, rabbits are extremely fragile. They are extremely fragile. It's one of the things. So my one daughter raises rabbits, and the number of things you wouldn't think of. For one, almost everything is bad for a rabbit to eat. It's like they can eat Timothy hay, fruit tree bark, and like some fruits and vegetables. Although, as a bunny, like up to 6 months old, they can't have fresh fruits and vegetables either. So like, there's a whole bunch of dietary restrictions. I don't know how they live in the wild. I don't know how they live in the wild. But yeah, they have this thing where like if they forget to eat for 12 hours, they just don't eat anymore and die. So you have to make sure that they have enough food in front of them so they're nibbling. Anyways, the joys of rabbit owning. Yeah, mommy keeps them in the burrow. Exactly. So anyways, they're incredibly fragile creatures, and they're not the smartest either. So you gotta keep them alive. Anyways, that's it is what it is. That happened, and we're good. How are you all doing? How was your Saturdays? Was your Saturdays good? I hope so. Hope your Saturdays are going well. Hope your Sundays are going well. My setup looks so cool. Well, thank you. Hopefully, when I build my actual office, it looks even cooler. That's the plan. But looking cool is kind of to the eyes of the beholder. So if you think the same things I think look cool, then my setup, when I'm finished building my office, is going to look even cooler. If not, then you know it's going to be less cool. It's going to be less cool. Nighthound, it's good to see you. It looks expensive. I guess it all depends on how much you make. It's good to be back, Nighthound. The break was really, really good. It was really good. I really needed to take a month off much sooner than when I did. That's going to be something for future Merrick, is like, you know what? After 2 years, maybe take a month off. Or maybe take some smaller breaks off so I don't have to take a month off. So, you know, anyways, yeah, so it was really fantastic. It's really fantastic. All right, we have some stuff to go over. We might get into next week's plan. I don't know if we'll have enough time to cover it. So I know that I had said that we're going to do the news on Saturdays, and then we're going to do events like the AI games and whatnot. The next thing that I want to do, and we might at least start it today. We might after the news is a little personal assistant. I've been needing a personal assistant, and we might try to build a really simple one and see how that goes. I think that will be fun, and we'll see some of the challenges. All right, are we ready to get into the news? For personal stuff, yeah, for personal stuff, I say personal stuff. I actually wanted to do some stuff to help me with the channel. So like I would love, I try to search the web for news for you all, and I would love some assistance with that. Now sometimes you all send me stuff, and that's fantastic. I love it. But I also would love something that's trying to find some stuff and then like comparing it to, I think the idea would be to give it kind of stuff that's highly rated and then say like compare it against these things. And so if the community is interested in X, it's probably interested in Y, but not Z, right? And so to try to filter some stuff out, as well as just trying to find things that would be interesting to you all. So because my hope is to cover things that you might not know about. If I just cover the things that everybody already knows about, then I'm just giving my take on it, which is fine for some things. I'm going to give my take on some things. I'm sure you've seen some of these things, but the other part of my job is trying to find stuff, and I'll continue to do it myself. But I think it would be cool if I got something that would try to aggregate some of that for me. The other thing that I'm trying to do is have something that manages my schedule better. I'm a pretty busy person, and I'd like some help. So yeah, usually I have my calendar. It's not hard for my calendar to have over 12 hours of stuff blocked out on it. And so then when I need to do something, it's like which of these things is higher priority, and trying to juggle that. So I don't know if that will work. We'll see. That's like I would love it, but we'll see. It's like I was supposed to go to physical therapy last week, but I could never find a spot to go to physical. That was my bad. I need to go to physical therapy this next week. Yep. Let's not point out what Merrick's bad at. I am really bad at scheduling, as you all know. All right. The first thing I wanted to talk about was something that's been close to my heart. I have said that probably for the last 3 years, the models that are being released, I haven't seen a big change in. And this is just from running the AI games. You get these big flashy releases that release new benchmarks, and the underlying story is they haven't really improved that much. There's improvement from speed to hallucinations, and there are improvements, and I'm not saying that. They're just not that inflection point where you're saying, oh, they're getting so much better and blah, 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 blah. And so, I have been looking at a lot of the stuff that's happening and whatnot, and I've said that. And this article that we're going to look at, I want to understand that there's bias when you're looking at things and you see stuff that harmonize with what you say. So that's what I want to bring up. But at the same time, this is something that I've been saying for a long time. The inflection that we've seen in the last 2 years is from all the work that's going into the agents and how the agents handle those things. And we can get into why that actually helps and make us better. And mostly it's because the agents use tools that aren't LLMs. They use static analysis. They use compiler output and those types of things to feed back into the AI to make the output better. And so I honestly think a ton of what you've seen in improvement is there. And this article was really, really cool. So let me post the article so you can all see it. Am I American or Canadian? You know what? I'm going to leave that up to you. I will let you know that yesterday, one of the things that we did to take our mind off was tap all the maple trees. Also because we have to tap maple trees. If Apple released a tree, it would be the maple tree. But we had to tap all the maple trees yesterday, so that was a ton of work in the afternoon because it is maple syrup season. So I'll let you make your own judgment there. Exactly, Nighthound. It doesn't get cold enough there. Oh, I wish. I wish it didn't get cold enough here. All right, so here's the blog article that I would encourage you to go read the whole thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm not here to read it all to you. I wanted to call out some things that have really aligned with some of the stuff that I have seen, and I wanted to give this guy a shout out because I think he did a really fantastic job. All right, I improved 15 LLMs at coding in one afternoon. Only the hardness changed. So the whole point he's going through here is that the actual coding, the actual AI model stayed the same. And this improved quite a bit. This actually also ties into another thing when I have talked about AIs have a pricing problem. So AIs currently have a huge pricing problem where you have to pay an unknown amount to solve a problem, right? You don't know how many tokens it's going to use to solve a problem or how many times you're going to have to requery to solve that problem. And the other thing, and this is especially true with agents, is there's possibly things an agent could do to reduce the number of tokens to get a more accurate result. And this is kind of what happened here. You'll notice here that this is the results here. Not only did he increase the accuracy, he did it while reducing the number of tokens required to solve the problem. In some cases, in Grok's case, maybe Grok was an easy one to make it improve. In Grok's case, it was a lot. In some, it wasn't actually that much at all or negligible, while still driving huge improvements. So I guess the DeepSeek was the only one that didn't improve from this, which is a really cool call out. Also cool that that he calls this out, because one of the things that he points out in this is that, like, if you're an open source tool or an open source agent or an agent that's not backed by a model, so a lot of these have their own agent that you can use to code, and that agent really should be updated and specialized for the model that it's using. Something else that I've called out is you're going to specialize for the agent. And a lot of the times when I've seen a agent specialized for a model, it doesn't work as well. So some people are like, oh, well, I use Cursor and I switch between different models. And in my experience, I haven't found that to be super valuable, because I think that Cursor actually customizes for specific ones. And it has like 3 or 4 that it's really good with. And then the rest, I don't think it's actually optimized for. Anyways, the really big takeaway from this was he actually just changed the harness. It's not the model that changed. It has nothing to do with it. This is, again, goes further into the big changes that we've seen, the improvements that you've seen, and why AI feels so much better is all in the secret sauce of the agents and how the agents are doing stuff and how they're feeding in, I'm going to call it hard data, but like statistical analysis that is not derived from an AI into the output and the loop of the AI to make that AI's output better. That's why you have the thinking mode that takes so long, is it's an iterative loop and things like that with the agent. So what did he do? The conversation right now is almost entirely around which model is best at coding. This framing is increasingly misleading because it treats the model as the only variable that matters, when in reality, one of the bottlenecks is sometimes much more mundane, the harness. I think this is like a really good thing to get us talking about, and why I wanted to bring this up at all. I think that this is actually huge, and something that we haven't been talking about enough in the industry. So this is this is the basis of it. Now, what did he do? So basically, he just went to these coding things and had them do something very simple. So this is the basics of it. Was like fix a bug in this thing. The issue is in this function, and restore the missing guard clause. Very, very simple thing to do with a well-defined description, right? And the the idea here was that he was just going to change how the AI found the code to replace and how it told the tool how to edit it. That's all that this guy did. And basically, he used the hash lines here. Now bear with me. What if the models read a file or greps for something? Every line comes back with a tag with a 2 to 3 character content hash. So this, when the model edits, it references those tags. So these tags here, the 1A3, the 2F1, the 3O0E are all referencing which line that it came from. And this way it can replace the line, replace a range, or insert after, and it increases the likelihood of being correct, because if these hash lines don't match up, then it instantly knows that it has stale data and it can go back because the hash line didn't match. So it's an incredibly powerful but also fairly simple way for an editor to do it. And this is what he did. And it increased for everybody, but DeepSeek, it increased the agent effectiveness. So this is its effectiveness, and this is like how many tokens it used. And it's pretty cool. And you can see it for different ones. So anyways, I wanted to bring this to your attention. I think it's I thought it was very cool. It also starts to make us wonder. I mean, this brings me back to a case for it's not Uber. What's the other one? Lyft. Sorry, I don't take these services, so I forget their names. Lyft. It brings me back to a problem Lyft solved very elegantly with AI. Let me see if I can bring that up on the fly. Do you guys have that link? Let me see. Lyft. What did they do? They rejiggered files. That's not the right word. They translated files with AI. Translated files with AI. I think it was Lyft. Was it not Lyft? Reconfigured, maybe? It was Lyft or somebody like that. Basically, what they needed to do was they had multiple files in one language and they wanted to do it to the other language. And they built this really, really cool, they engineered a really, really cool system. Maybe it was Airbnb. It might have been Airbnb. Okay, here we go. It was Airbnb. It was my bad. I said Lyft and it was Airbnb. So it was tests. It wasn't languages. I knew it wasn't languages, but it was tests. They were changing to a new testing framework. And So what they did, now months of work in days. It did months of work, but it actually this is a little bit of a misnomer here, because while the AI took days to do it, there was actually a lot of work in engineering the solution. And the solution, when you get into it, was that they leveraged a lot of statistical analysis, or they leveraged a lot of static analysis, not statistical analysis, static analysis, to inform the AI if it had done the job correctly or not. There's one graph in here that, yeah. So basically, the LLM took 5 steps, and it leveraged different static analysis tools to then feedback, give feedback to the AI of whether that step worked. So they engineered it in such a way where they broke it down into individual steps. For each step, they sometimes had multiple different tools that would give it analysis of whether that step succeeded or not, and how might the AI fix it, and let it move on. And if it failed too many times at any one of these tests, it would get kicked out for like human review or whatnot. So like, if it sat here and ran this 12 times, I don't know the exact number. This was a little bit a while ago. But at this time, I said this was one of the futures of AI. I said this was a really cool and exactly the right way to start leveraging AI. And one of the important parts here is it doesn't use AI for these static analysis. And I think this is actually really important, because AI gives you compounding errors, right? So when you use an AI, it has 80% chance to be right. If you use another AI to correct that, you're actually compounding the error rate there, not honing it. And so I think it's actually really important that each of these steps, it could have another AI that does something, but it's also really important to have that static analysis. And so I think this was really cool. And this is exactly what agents are doing, right? They're doing these steps and asking for static analysis. This is why it's so important for your AI to write some tests, or to write some tests for your AI, either way, so that it can refine it against more feedback. The more feedback it can have, the easier is it for it to do the right thing or to fail. So this is really important. I like it. I think that everybody should read this. Actually, I'm going to give this to you all. That is because AI assumes it is correct. Well, I don't think AI assumes anything, right? AI doesn't assume. I think that's also a misnomer. AI doesn't assume, right? AI in itself has a bunch of nodes. It's just a graph. And it has some entry points to this that you can seed, and it has some weights. It has some weights on these, right? And so all AI is doing, it doesn't assume anything. It follows a path. So it got seed 1 instead of seed 2, and it follows seeds 1 path. And then all it does is the randomized weights here, it follows the path that it has to do. So that, that could be like this on this run through. And this is the result. It's not assuming anything. This is just the result of the input at the seed you asked and the output that gives, right? It's not whether it's right or not. It's an application that does this. It follows this graph, a much bigger, more complicated graph than this, but at a really high simplistic level, that's what it's doing, right? So I know that when we think of it as humans, and this is why I call this out, when we have too much painted in humans terms, right? We assume that it works like a human does, and I don't feign to know how a human works, so I like to paint it as what it is. By not checking itself, the programmers make a lot of assumptions, for sure. 1,000%. 1,005%. That is an absolute certainty. Yeah. All right. Let's jump in. Let's jump into the security meltdown that happened last week. Now, a lot of times I have said in the past, people should watch me more often. I feel like I've said this before. All right, I need to take a little bit of a humble pill, but I have said for a little bit that security was going to be a big deal for AI. It's really good at statistical anomaly detection, and like we should leverage it for that. Now, this next instance is not quite what I had in mind, but it caused huge waves in the security industry. You saw things like this. Anthropic's new Claude AI security tool wipes out over 15 billion from cybersecurity stocks. And we can check that. I looked at cybersecurity stocks, and a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them were massively down. Over 24% here, around 25% here, massively down. So what was this that caused this? There's actually a 50-minute or a 50-second video that we're going to watch together because it's only 50 cents. It's only 50 cents. It's only 50 seconds. Making frontier cybersecurity capabilities available to defenders. Now, when I've said that cybersecurity AI is going to be fantastic at it, what I've always referred to is a little bit different than what this does. And I thought maybe it would make sense. Let's say this is my Works network. Works network. You should stream more often. I appreciate that. Thank you. Once I don't have to work for a living, and I'll stream every day. Probably not every day. Every other day. How about that? Once I don't have to work for a living, I'll stream every other day. You guys will be waiting a little while. Just so we're clear, that's a little while. that's a little while away. Let's see, home office. Okay, and then and where are we going vacation wise? I'd love to go to a mountain. So where there's a couple mountain ranges in Europe, there's some mountain ranges there in India. I don't know how to spell Himalayans, so we'll just do H. I think going to see the Himalayans would be super cool. Have absolutely no idea how to spell it. Mount Fuji. Okay, we'll go with Mount Fuji because I can spell that. All right. So what I have said for a little while is that AI should be really good at anomaly detection. And one of the things that I meant by that is that I should connect to my Works network. I connect from my home office in Ohio and the office in Mountain View. And both of these are not anomalous, right? Now, what we do in standard practices is actually write rules for each of these. This is fragile because if I move, if I move, this breaks and this has to be updated and this has to be maintained and whatnot. Also, like my home internet, my internet provider actually changes the location it reports me by a couple 100 kilometers or miles, just by the nature of having satellite. It doesn't report my location perfectly. So by this, it's not a perfect means. But what we don't want is if I try to connect via Mount Fuji. Now, this could legitimately be me, right? But it could also be somebody else. This is anomalous behavior, and it's really important to detect this. And a lot of security companies do this. I'm not saying that nobody does this, but this is kind of their job to say, this was anomalous activity. Is it correct or not? Does Merrick access the work network from Mount Fuji or not? This is the type of stuff I think AI would be really, really good at. Now, this is an easy one. This is one that tools work at. But what other anomalous activity could we get? What if, there's a service that only gets a certain HTTP type and all of a sudden there's a different header that comes into it? That would be anomalous activity. It's just something that could be flagged. We could raise a little flag. And that looks like a P. Anyways, it's a flag. Anyways, it could raise a flag and say, this is anomalous. This doesn't normally happen and it should be reviewed. I think AI would be super good at this. And I think we should start using it for that. Now, is that what Claude Code released that caused all of this to happen? Again, we could look at some other stocks. You can look at GitLab is down. These aren't really security stocks, but GitLab does some of the same security stuff that JFrog does for code scanning and whatnot. And we have a 50-second video, so we're going to watch it really quickly. You can't stalk me anymore. Gosh dang it. Not here in Canada. We have strict anti-stalking laws. That's it. Okay. So I mean, like I stopped it a little bit early, but like this is the whole thing. So they're using their agent to fix it once it's found, and they're using their AI to scan the code. This is what disrupted the entire industry. Now, I haven't gotten to leverage it yet. I don't have the means to leverage it in a way that I can review for YouTube because it's only for the enterprise customers. And if I had an enterprise account, that would be, under the company that I've leveraged it for. So I wouldn't be able to publicly show it off and talk about it. But that being said, so while I cannot use it, they said that they were going to expand it to open source. I will check it out for the open source when I can. Now, the interesting thing that I found here is nothing in this was groundbreaking, in my opinion, right? They have an agent that will scan your code for security things. That agent could use statistical analysis things. I think that people that already have those statistical analysis things, like JFrog, are actually at a really great place to build an agent like that because they can use those tools that they already have to feed it into an AI to validate or whatnot, as well as to make it more efficient, right? Because you don't have to catch the things that the static analysis tools will already do. So anyways, this is an interesting thing. Now, is it overblown? I don't know yet. Like I said, I haven't gotten to try it, but this is what hit. This is what I'm going to say is all that hit, I was actually a little underwhelmed because to me, I could do this with ChatGPT. I could ask it to review a code base and tell me if there's any security concerns about it. This is all that I saw in this. I didn't see any of this stuff, like the really hard runtime stuff to deal with. This stuff, this crap is hard. This is what the billion-dollar company. This is what's like where the real money's at. And as far as I have seen, they haven't touched that. I would love to see them touch that. I think that would be massive. But right now, it's pretty much what you can do with any LLM. Now, hopefully they're leveraging an agent, and that agent is actually making that LLM better than you just asking an LLM, right? That's like the whole hope here, is that they have some secret sauce in an agent that's actually making it better than just asking an LLM to review your code base. Casually giving out $1 million startup ideas. Yeah, I'm not a startup founder. I wouldn't do well there, so I would rather people take it and do it. Also, like, it's probably not a great startup, and the reason is there's people like Wiz. It doesn't matter how well I did it as a startup. Wiz would have the backing and resources to crush me, right? Like, it's nothing that I'm gonna be able to get in there and do. So, like, your Plantiers, your other security firms, you know, Orca. I could list a dozen companies that would have the resources to do, because it's not that novel, right? So I'll casually give out the probably $1 billion startup ideas at this valuations. So anyways, I kind of felt that this was overblown, right? For what it was, I was like, this isn't anything that you can't do now. In fact, we've talked about having AI review our PRs for a quick feedback. That review should include security, right? It should include, hey, is there any security vulnerabilities in this? Absolutely. So anyways, I just thought that it was interesting. Like, this is all that we've gotten from it. It seemed drastic to me. Seemed drastic because it seemed like they just made an agent that did the thing that we could already do with it. I'm not sure. Let me know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Was that a good move? Like, did that move deserve the reaction the market had? You know, I tie the market to it because it's something people look at. That obviously investors saw that and thought that it was a danger to those companies, right? They thought that it was a fundamental danger to those companies, and so they should lower the valuation of it. Do you think this is a fundamental danger to a security package management or a security code management? You know, both of those do a lot of security. GitLab does a lot of security. JFrog does a lot of security stuff. They have a lot of security fixtures. But let me tell you that what JFrog doesn't do a whole lot of. I know that they can scan your code, but the majority of people that I've ever talked to, and I've talked to a lot of JFrog users, they don't actually leverage it to scan their code. They use it as a package manager. They use it as a source of truth. This is a good security thing. Where can developers pull packages from? It's fantastic. They have a package catalog and all of those types of things. All of those things are well outside of this, right? Their code scanning ability is fine, but, you know, they have X-Ray. X-Ray is a package scanner. Again, Anthropic didn't do anything with package scanning for vulnerabilities in package and configuration. To me, it felt a little overblown, right? You'd still use JFrog even if you used Anthropic's thing. Yeah, anyways, it was interesting to me. Felt overblown, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Anthropic's onto something. All right. Our next topic is the end of an era. 2019 was the launch of the era. And just, 7 years later, this era of goodness came to an end. Professor Logout, good to see you, by the way. So let's talk about the end of an era. what are we talking about? We're talking about the end of the curl bug bounty program. It's ended. There is no longer a curl bug bounty problem. They found out that curl was just too buggy. They were giving away too much money because it was too easy to report a bug to curl. Now that's not entirely true. The last part was kind of true. But this blog post is a good read. You should go read it. I don't know of a solution to the problem here. This is a problem that is confronting us right now. And this is actually a larger problem in the open source ecosystem as a whole. So the curl bug bounty program was one where you could get paid if you found a legitimate bug in the curl application. It was really cool. There has been 87 confirmed vulnerabilities and over 100,000 USD paid as rewards to the researchers. And they should be happy and proud of this, making curl a better tool all around. Now, he goes in and talks about this quite a bit, but the reason they've done this is an explosion of AI slop reports with low quality in the reports that were not obviously slop. We saw an explosion of AI slop reports combined with a lower quality even in the reports that were not obviously slop, presumably because they too were actually misled by AI, but with the fact just hidden better. Maybe the first 5 years made it possible for researchers to find and report the low-hanging fruit. Previously years, we had a rate of somewhere north of 15% of the submissions ending up confirmed vulnerabilities. Starting in 2025, the confirmed rate plummeted below 5%. Not even 1 in 20 was real. So basically, possibly the idea here that he's saying is that previously the AIs had lower hanging fruit and that they were actually finding. So he doesn't know that 2025 was actually the start of the problem. He just knows that the problem became apparent in 2025. And not even 1 in 20 report was real. So this was becoming a burden on AI, or this was becoming a real burden on the people maintaining this. And this is something we've talked about previously, where there's a burden on open source maintainers as they get inundated with just a flurry of low quality pull requests from people. And the interesting thing here is that GitHub actually is bragging about having 36 million new developers join their community. Now, this is a little bit misleading because pretty much anybody that signs up for an account counts as this. So my daughter was among one of the new 36 million developers. And she hasn't even made a repository. She's just looked at my repositories. So this is a little bit of a misleading number, but that's just to point out like the influx that is happening here. And a lot of these reports had some bad faith attached to them. So they did a lot of things and tried a bunch of things. In the end, there is still security reporting that you can use. They are asking you to email your report to security@curl.se and go work with that. They're leaving HackerOne, so you can't submit your report through HackerOne anymore. You must email them here, and there will be no monetary reward offered. They're taking the incentive away, the monetary reward incentive away, which I honestly think is a bit sad. I do think it's a bit sad because security researchers tend to not want to work for free if they have families and lives to support. But I understand where they're coming from is they need to remove this burden from the maintainers. So that's what happened. Now, there's a bunch of things that you can go check out. Here's the pull request that removed it from the repository. Here is his talk at the event in Brussels. So you can go watch his talk here. We're not going to watch the whole talk. But if you wanted to watch his talk, you can go watch it here. I think if you're interested in it, it was an interesting talk because it's something we need to talk about.
All of those products I showed you, curl runs in that. And
it's something we need to talk about. I'm not saying that this is the correct way. I don't know the correct way for the communities to deal with it. But I think in 2026, it's something that I'm looking for places like GitHub to start helping with, right? If GitHub doesn't come up with a solution, its platform becomes much more difficult to use. We've seen people leaving GitHub. Leaving GitHub, I actually liked Daniel's take on leaving GitHub. We stay on GitHub. And let me emphasize that this change does not impact our presence and mode of operation with the curl repository and its hosting on GitHub. We hear about projects having problems with low-quality AI slop submissions on GitHub as well in the form of issues and pull requests, but for curl, we have not had this yet, and frankly, I don't think switching to a GitHub alternative saves us from us. I actually think this is the biggest thing. Even if it's happening to you on GitHub, and it's the biggest platform, so it's going to happen there, it doesn't stop people from doing the exact same thing on the other platforms. If they want to say that they've submitted code to curl and they don't want to actually do the work to learn and understand curl and actually submit something that's useful, they're going to resort to AI slop anyways to try to get that achievement anyway. It doesn't matter where it's hosted. They can submit the pull request anyways. And you can make submitting a pull request difficult where it's on a server that's not easy to see and whatnot. But now you're making it more difficult to get new maintainers to your project. Maybe that's the answer. It's a sad answer if that's the answer, because open source projects have a hard enough time getting true maintainers anyhow. So like I said, I don't know the solution. I'm just reporting on the problem. So anyways, I think you got the majority of the links there. What do you guys think? What is the solution to this? Do you guys have an idea? Gray Hatter, another example of making the world worse. Quite possibly. Anybody other than Gray Hatter have an idea for what we could do to alleviate some of this problem? Podman and Tumbleweed. How does Podman and Tumbleweed? No idea is a bad idea. I don't actually believe. I believe that no idea is a bad idea is a bad idea. Yeah. I'll say that publicly. Build people. So actually, that's an interesting take. That was actually considered. So I didn't read the whole article because I didn't want to be an article reading machine, especially because I suck at reading. There was actually a take here from Daniel on some other ideas that were suggested, and one of them was to actually basically make a paid club that you had to pay to join as a researcher. And that would allow, there's a monetary cost to be in that. And so if you had a very low likelihood of successfully getting a security bug in, you wouldn't want to join that because it would actually just be a net loss. You'd just be charged money to be part of the club. They didn't go with that. Let's see. Where was it? He did talk about this. I don't think that it was. He did talk about this. Oh, okay. We won't change. People keep suggesting that one way to deal with the report tsunami is to charge security researchers a small amount of money for the privilege of submitting a vulnerability report to us. A curl reports security club with an entry fee. I think this is a less good solution than just dropping the bounty. Some of the reasons include charging people money in an international context is complicated. I don't care about that one. Dealing with we have Bitcoin. We've solved it. Dealing with chargeback return and other things, it would limit who could or would submit issues, even some who actually find legitimate. I think this is probably the big deal here, right? You don't really want to make it cost financial money for somebody who thinks that they found something to submit that to you if it's submitted in good faith, right? Like you don't want to put that barrier in your security thing, right? I feel like this is probably the biggest icky feeling for me on it. These are problems that would take time but could be solved. A platform could HackerRank or HackerOne or whatever one that they used. HackerOne, yeah. HackerOne could solve these two problems, right? This is not the biggest one. This is probably one, and maybe it's what needs to be done. Maybe that's the right way, and that sucks, but maybe that's the world we live in. The world we live in isn't always the ideal world. Actually, very rarely is it the ideal world. I would say in the ideal world, there wouldn't be something like this. Now, maybe the fact is we have to have this because we don't live in the ideal world. And that's just a, yeah. The web of trust, Professor Logout, this is actually something we've talked about for the open source issue as well, is building a web of trust. Now, one thing that's dangerous about the web of trust is it can be infiltrated, right? So you can't actually trust the web of trust, right? We've seen this with people that have gotten control over open source projects that have then pushed very bad things into those open source projects. So web of trust is maybe not the perfect way of saying it, but I do think that there's something of a web of peer approval invites as well as like shown prior work, so that there's actually a lot of work to do to build up to that type of thing. I do think that there's something to be said about that. I do think that there's a possibility for that, where we work more as humans and less as an anonymous machine on the internet, and we work our way into these things by proving that we have done things and that we continue to put forth effort. We've actually talked about that one specifically to the slop AI PR pools. Like, you have to have a community trust of 50% or more to make a PR to this repository. Now, the problem with that is, how do they get a trust of 50%? If all the open source projects go to, you have to have a trust of 50% or more to make a PR. I'm just pulling out numbers out of my derriere here. Like, I don't like, those aren't hard, fast numbers, but the whole point is, like, how do you get new members if you're gatekeeping now? It becomes more difficult. So if we were going to go down if we're going to go down that path, we also have to go down the path of how new people join and make contributions. Maybe you can't make a code PR until you have 50% trust, but you could make documentation PRs. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, there's other problems with that modus operandi, but yeah, they're all hard problems. Let's see. I have not actually seen this vouch system. What is this? Let me see it. Let's live news it up. Okay, so this actually does touch on some of the things that I was saying. Is it treats certain parts differently with certain parts of the projects, because like I said, you still need a way for people to become vouched for, right? So like there's a lot of pieces to this. I'm happy to think about this a little bit more because we have talked about it as we actually originally talked about this when we were talking about um when we were talking about there's a security need for this as well, because people got their wiggled their way into open source projects and like got maintainership with very little effort, and having some large scale system like this in place um might have actually helped with some of that. Again, like I said, the web of trust um isn't perfect, but I guess that's why all security mechanisms are like an onion, right? uh Terrible to bite into and painful, but you want layers of security, right? No one thing is the silver bullet. You have a bunch of different things that provide that layers of security. So I guess maybe the biggest argument against web of trust is that it can be infiltrated with enough work, and there are people willing to put the work into it. It's also just another layer that you have, right? So maybe we should put some work into this. Maybe this should be a 2026 goal. I'll have to review this. Greyhatter, you were saying that you didn't like how some of it was implemented. What do you mean by that? I would be interested to know. I haven't looked into any of it, so like I couldn't tell you. New shell, I have no idea why. Oh man, Nix. I like it. I like it already. It's Nix. Too many requests. You have exceeded a secondary rate limit? What the garbage, GitHub? I guess I'm not signed in on this browser. I must be AI. It's confirmed. It's confirmed. This whole time, I've been a lie. Can you miss it? Gray hair, that's something I've struggled with. Missing the mark on encouraging community participation. That's my one fear with these systems. And like I said, I don't know. Maybe the statement can be that's the world we live in and it sucks. Gets the punitive aspects wrong. What would you do if there was somebody that was being a bad actor? Right? Their score would have to go down, right? Their trust score. I don't know the punitive actions here. Like I said, I haven't I feel like there has to be some. Now, you're right that has to be done really really carefully, right? Because you also have newer engineers that are going to put up bad PRs anyways just because they don't know better. And so some of it needs to be very very carefully thought out, where you are trying to help build those people. You know what? I told Stack Overflow this a long time ago, and they didn't listen to me on this one. I wanted to remove moderation and technical skill from each other. So a problem with Stack Overflow as it was that your ability to moderate was directly tied to your ability to not moderate, but your ability to what is it called? Solve technical problem. So this was tied tightly together. You got moderation points for solving technical problems for people. And these two things aren't related, right? So your ability to mentor people in the community is not related to your ability to solve how to format a string in Python. They're just not related at all, right? So, and the reason they didn't listen to me was this would break the foundation of everything that they had done. But my suggestion was to separate moderation and technical problem solving. So somebody should be given Rust points for solving Rust problems so that you could see that they were an expert in the community of Rust. And people should be given moderation points when they helped moderate a tough situation, when they encouraged somebody to grow, when they helped somebody reformat their post to make it better, when they did any of those types of things. Those are two separate things, and they should be dealt with separately. I almost feel like this also needs there needs to be two things. Gamification might help, and two, making it where the ability to moderate is different than your ability to get a PR in, right? So people who can help grow the community might be different than the people who have the most technical knowledge. I think that's fair. I don't know if that directly correlates to vouch. It's just something that's been in my mind. Like I said, I don't really know vouch's system that well. I haven't seen it. This is just a topic we've talked about quite a bit. Oddly here, from security to open source PRs and just moderation of Stack Overflow and other communities like that. So anyways, I don't know if maybe some system like that would help here. Maybe it's something we focus a little bit more on this year. I'm not sure. Well, cool. Thanks for pointing that out. Gamification is a double-edged sword, right? So why I say that is if you gamify something, you have people that are there for the points that literally gamify it. Like they try to do the least amount of work to get the most amount of points, and that is what it is. But it's also really cool. Like I actually liked Stack Overflow's gamification. You unlocked new abilities on the platform for achieving so many points and things like that. I actually thought it did two things. One, it got you to unlock stuff, right? Which is always fun, and like it gives you a bit of that dopamine and a thing to work towards, because sometimes it can be difficult to work towards a thing. You know, like who works on their credit score? There's no gamification of it. And it's just this score that like generally just pounds you into the ground, and nobody likes it. But if it unlocked cool things, like obviously it unlocks better rates
for borrowing money, but like you never really think about it that way. If it unlocked new cool things, like it would be something you could work towards. It'd actually be fun. So I like it. It's just a double-edged sword you have to think about. You just got to think about it. Everything you do, you have to think about. There's unintended side effects of everything that you do. Please do not gamify GitHub. Dude, so GitHub is already full of gamification, right? Like, just playing a little devil's advocate here. GitHub is already absolutely full of gamification. Let me log in here really quickly. There is no logging in quickly with multi-factor authentication anymore. So let me log in slowly. I have to log into like 12 things to log into GitHub. All right, I've logged into the thing that holds my password for this. So we're good there now. Now I need to log in to GitHub, and I got to do the multi-factor authentication. Which I don't have my phone. One second, I got to go get my phone. Actually, that's something. I don't know that this would be a fun stream. It's something I need to do. All right, 2-factor, done. I need to actually switch everything over to my YubiKeys. So not everything is on my YubiKeys, and that's. I got 2 for my wife because she only has one, and I got a second one for her that I need to act at for her backup, and I need to put all of my stuff on the YubiKeys instead of using my phone. Anyways, long story short, there are already gamification here. Check this out. I know this is gonna break your little heart. How many stars do you have? How many forks? How many watch? All of these is gamification. This is gamification. Now, this is my secondary account. I have second. This is my 4Stream account so that I can't accidentally show off stuff I'm not supposed to show off. But like, this is 100% gamification stuff here, right? Achievements, right here. You have achievements. I love the YOLO one. I hate to break it to you. GitHub has been gamified. They've done it poorly. They've just done it poorly, okay? They've done it poorly. Dude, exactly. Now let me log into my password manager before I absolutely... It's the world we live in, right? Like, that's what I was saying. Like, it's not ideal, but it's the world we live in. Like, that's sometimes what you have to look at is like, logging isn't ideal anymore, but it's the world we live in. Do you know what, Professor Logout? Everybody will. So during the Christmas break, I was feverish for a very long time. I was very, very sick. And I wasn't probably mentally stable through that whole time. And I emailed very high up people at Microsoft and basically told them that if they'd like to save GitHub, they should break GitHub off from Microsoft, and they should break out Copilot, and they should make me the CEO of GitHub, and I would make GitHub the best developer platform out there for them. I have not gotten a response to that. I actually listed out a ton of the things that I would do to make GitHub like actually good, which this was a detailed list, so they should have it as a roadmap, even if they don't hire me. But we'll see. We'll see. They have not responded to me. But yeah, so anyways, we'll see if they accept my my offer for a job. You know what I hate? I love GitHub. Like I really do. And I hate what they haven't done with it for the last 4 years. I don't even know how you baited me into this topic, because like I am very passionate about it. It is one of the best developer platforms that hasn't done anything for years, right? So like GitHub Actions was innovative at the time, but they haven't done anything with it. Like it's stagnant, it's stale. The features that should just be in GitHub are in other platforms that you have to layer in. The ability, okay, like, oh my gosh, the ability for me to come to my organization here, and okay, so I have this Null channel organization here, and the ability for me to do things like say, hey, I have these different things I don't want to use. Like let's say I don't want this action to be used, or I only want an allow list. Like I only want GitHub Actions that are on a list, or I don't know, crap, I want to know what GitHub Actions my organization is using. GitHub can't do that for you. Oh no. Now, Step Security can, and they just use GitHub's API. So GitHub has it. They don't even expose it to you. And these are like basic needs for the platform. It just boggles my mind that they can't put in basic features that literally other companies layer in and do an amazing job with. I don't know. I want to say that my actions, for security reasons, can only reach out to certain APIs. Again, Step Security, a small little scrappy startup, can do all of these things for me, and you can't do them in your GitHub Actions. What the crap? Why can't, when I get a pull request on this, why can't you label it that this is a high likelihood of AI slop or not? Why can't you put a trust factor on this? Why can't you be building that into your platform? I don't know. I don't know why you haven't done anything here. Sorry. You guys baited me into that. I'm done. What are you doing, Step Security? Step Security is actually really cool. You know, I'll have to see if they'd like to join. I super love Step Security. Not sponsored by anything. I super love Step Security because Step Security does everything that GitHub Actions should do. Like, just flat out, Step Security does everything GitHub Actions should do. Yeah. I don't know if they have like a good example of the things that they do here. But yeah, like they give you complete visibility from dev to the dev environment to production in your GitHub Actions. So if you're like leveraging GitHub Actions, it's fantastic. They give you the ability to catalog every secret you have across your organizations when it was rotated last, and if it needs to be rotated. They give you the ability to auto like delete and reject ones after a certain time period inside of a policy. They have the ability to make policies for your organizations and your repositories around things like what actions they're allowed to use, or if you have like a block list, like, hey, we don't want these GitHub, like these third-party GitHub actions to be leveraged, you can put them in a block list and they will actually block them for you. They do a ton of stuff that GitHub should just do. All of these should be part of the basic thing. You know what one of the things they do is they actually do so when your GitHub actions run, they will deny it if they have compromised NPM packages so that it doesn't run on your infrastructure, on your machines. A ton of stuff GitHub actions should just do. Like, you shouldn't use GitHub actions without paying for step security. That's like probably... Do you know where your GitHub actions call out to the internet? Do you know? Probably don't, because GitHub doesn't provide that to you. Step security does. Yeah, it does. Yours don't? Well, that's good. I mean, can you prove it? Can you, like, I mean, again, when you're looking at it organization-wide, do you know where it's going? I understand, but when you're looking at an organization, you have to... It's not even just about competency, but like just proving that this is true, that your actions don't call out to the internet. Or if they do call out to the internet, let's say Docker Hub is acceptable. Maybe it's not. Because if you have something like JFrog sitting behind, you should actually probably be calling from JFrog that has a resource catalog of where things are allowed to come from. But I'm diving down a more security point. It probably doesn't matter. My point is, you might have some places on the internet that are okay to call out to. That doesn't mean you should allow any place. So, anyways, I could go on about just the gamification of GitHub has been done poorly. And just there hasn't been anything new for 3 years. There hasn't been anything new in the, what's the next thing for GitHub Actions? Like, has CI/CD stagnated so much that that's it? What about GitOps? Could we support GitOps better in GitHub? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many things that you could do to make GitOps better with the GitHub Actions CI/CD part, right? I feel like GitHub has just focused on Copilot for years. And they haven't really focused on making it a great place to developer. They should be leading the charge on this trust framework, right? Because it hurts their platform. Their platform is hurting because they're not helping the open source communities and projects on it to have a better way of getting new developers. Like, our goal is to get new maintainers. That's like number one goal. But how can we do that responsibly? They should be leading the charge on it. Anyways, we don't need to talk about this anymore. I'm sorry. I got really sidetracked. I'm really passionate about it because I like GitHub. If I didn't care about them, you don't see me sitting here and talking about GitLab. I don't like GitLab's platform for the most part. And so you don't see me ranting about GitLab because, well, I don't, and it's fine. I'm happy. If you like GitLab, like, go for it. I'm not like hating on it or anything. I'm just saying, like, GitHub was really cool because it really was a fantastic place. And they've just lost their way. Absolutely lost their way. You think GitLab is better at this point? It might be, actually. You know what? GitLab continued to improve, and so you're right. At this point, GitLab might be better. 3 years ago, I don't think that was true. But if they didn't lose their way, they probably are better, and it wouldn't be hard. And that makes me so frustrated. I cannot. Anyways, nobody came here to see me rant about the fall of a fantastic platform. You're angry at how much you like this interface. I love it when that happens. I love that. I love it when you get to a UX and you're just like, wow. I didn't have to read the documentation because the UX was just so intuitive that I just used it. And I could do the things that I wanted to do. I love it when that happens. That has never happened. Even the UXs I make, I'm like, who thought of this? Who thought of this? All right. Let's move on. So we have some open source news. We have some open source news, so I thought we'd go over that. This is kind of just a hodgepodge of different things that I found out there that you guys might find interesting. And if you do, great. If you don't, let me know. Like I said, I want to make like a ranking system in the future, and this should be part of that so that you guys can rank the things so that we're bringing news that really interests us. All right. So GitHub, since we were just talking about them, GitHub released this. So what to expect for open source in 2026. Everybody thought that the corporations that were ripping off open source projects by leveraging the open source projects within the licenses rights was what was going to kill open source. But what really came and killed open source was AI. In 2025, GitHub saw about 36 million new developers join the community. And then what I did like is that they did recognize the problem here. AI has had a major role in accelerating global participation over 2025. It's created a pathway that makes it easier for new developers to enter the world of coding by dramatically lowering the barrier to entry. I don't think that this has actually happened. I think this is a false statement, right? Because it makes it feel like the barrier to entry is lower. And it allows you to submit PRs because the barrier to entry feels lower. But the problem is it creates a lot of noise, and what is called AI slop is a large quantity of low quality and oftentimes inaccurate contributions that don't add value to the project. What I don't like is they didn't correlate these two things. The fact of the matter is that the pathway being easier isn't because it's easier, it's because it's not generating useful things. Originally, the pathway was harder, and thus people didn't submit them because it was hard for them to make something that looked like it took time, like it should be reviewed, right? It took some skill, it took some effort and time and learning. So the fact is this lowering of the bar created the noise that we have to deal with. And that's what we really need to start working on. This makes it harder for maintainers of projects. And I think this is going to cause out a ton of burnout. So I think in 2025, you're going to see a lot of projects that have less maintainer activity. That's just my thing is I assume that we're going to see maintainers of open source projects burn out and or find really restrictive ways for new people to join, which sucks. But it's not all doom and gloom. The Linux Foundation released a thing on it's February 2026 edition of the Linux Foundation newsletter. The MCP Dev Summit of North America is a new event for Agentic AI Foundation focused on advancing MCP. So if you guys don't know, MCP was donated to the Linux Foundation, so it has its own conference now. It's interesting. It's in New York, so if you're in New York and want to join that or want to fly there, it looks like it might be interesting. Along these lines, it talked about Kubernetes solidifies its role as an operating system for AI. I found this interesting, so I actually downloaded the report that they're referencing here to understand better how the Kubernetes community dominated the findings for that. I find this to be a little bit misleading, and so I wanted to call it out. You guys can go here and you can find the they link to the survey. I can't link to you to the survey because it's a download. Actually, maybe I can. Here you go. Maybe I lied. How important do you think those conferences are? The MCP one, that is? I don't know. I you know what I think is the most important thing about conferences? The really cool thing about conferences. The thing I liked about the Kubernetes conference before it blew up, the thing that I like about these smaller conferences is it's an amazing time and place to meet with other people that are working on some of the same problems and challenges. Forget the hype, forget all of those things. It enables you and allows you to dig into those things with people that are struggling with the same problem. I loved going I still love going to conferences where my biggest thing is when I sit down with other engineers from other companies and talk about the same issues we're having. Oh, we implemented Kubernetes and now we're having this problem and those types of things. Some people have solutions to them. Sometimes you sit and you talk about the problems and some possible solutions they've thought of, some possible solutions you've thought of, and sometimes you get new ideas out of that. The bringing together people from different companies that are focusing on the same problems is invaluable. I think companies undersell that. They think of it more as a sales function. And really, I think that you should be looking at it as more of a developer function that is super valuable. I think it's honestly valuable more for that than any of the presentations and things like that. Yeah. So anyways, it depends on what you want to get out of it. If you want to go there and find some people that are working on some of the same things and have lunch and discuss those same things with them, it's fantastic. I actually wish that they would have fewer presentations and more like breakout sessions where they encourage that type of collaboration. That would be my thing. We are in an ad break. You get ads in 2026? I don't get ads. Got something in my throat. All right, ads are almost over. Oh, tell you what. I was gonna say I'm a bit tired. I'm not actually. I feel like it a little bit, but I'm not really. All right, ads are done. Welcome back. Welcome back after your ad conditioning. All right. The CNCF annual survey for cloud native, the infrastructure of AI's future. Now, I was actually interested in this because I wanted to understand better what people were seeing in Kubernetes for AI's future. Now, what I found out in this, if you go and look at it, please go look at it and come up with your own conclusions, was that Kubernetes as the AI platform, if you compare it with their other information that they provide, so like the maturity of cloud native infrastructure, and all of the same people answered this. The fact is that a lot of people that answered this survey use Kubernetes. So between 2023 and 2025, the cloud native landscape has shifted. That was what was once a forward-thinking architecture choice has become table stakes, where 98% of organizations now use cloud native techniques in at least some capacity, with early stage adoption dropping to just 8%. So early stage adoption, they're saying people that are just playing around with it, just adopting and whatnot. Those companies are down to 8%. Container usage in production increased from 41% to 56%, while Kubernetes cemented its position as the de facto orchestration platform running in 82% of containerized environments. Now, if you take this in conjunction with their report on AI, Kubernetes as the AI platform, the thing that's interesting to me with this is they state this like people are leveraging Kubernetes for AI because it is solving the problem well. But what I wanted to contend with is when you have a solution that works for your company, you leverage that solution. That is the de facto solution. And you kind of, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail, right? And I don't mean that Kubernetes is bad for this either. That's not my statement. My statement is if everyone's using Kubernetes, and in this case, everybody's using virtual machines as well, because most of the time, Kubernetes runs on VMs somewhere, whether it's in a cloud or on your own hardware. So we could actually say that VMs are probably the number one workload management thing, and Kubernetes is second. If you have a hammer, everything's a nail, right? And so when you have your current architecture, everybody's currently on Kubernetes. What they say, 98%. And again, that's a little biased because that's of people that take the CNCF survey, which is biased towards people that are interested in containerization. So it's a little biased from the get-go. But on top of that, if you deploy everything with Kubernetes, would you want to use something else? You would default to using Kubernetes until there was something better, right? So I think, honestly, this is more of evidence that people adopted it and are just leveraging it, because I would do the same thing, right? I would use Kubernetes right now because I don't know of anything better, because it's a new thing. But I also don't know, right? Like, why wouldn't I use Kubernetes? It's what we're using for everything else too. So I don't know. It felt a little weird to me because like it came out as like they're an AI leader, but it's like people deployed their inference containers leveraging Kubernetes. Well, yeah, that's what we would do. Why would we do something else? I also deploy everything else using Kubernetes, so I also deploy my inference containers leveraging Kubernetes. Seems reasonable to me. I don't know. Tell me what you think. That's what I think. That's what I think. Now, unlike usual, I usually do security first, but I had that really good blog article, and so I saved security for last. We got a lot of great things in security. And I wanted to start out with Microsoft's Valentine's Day gift to all Microsoft admins. It was a fantastic Valentine's gift. Microsoft's Valentine's gift to admins: 6 exploited 0-day fixes. Oh, Microsoft. I feel like I used to defend Windows as not worse than other platforms, but it feels in the last 3 years, GitHub and Windows has just dropped off a cliff. As like the amount of bugs in Windows I have heard is outstanding. Well, I don't have much more to say to this other than your patch should just be patching Windows out of your system, and you should run everything on Linux. Hey, Azure front door wasn't down. All right, let's move to some real security news, other than just making fun of Microsoft. So I read this. I love how Checkpoint researcher refers to themselves in the third person. There was what I'm going to say is a semi new attack leveraging AI. And I say semi because they would say that this was a new thing, but it really hasn't. And I can actually go back in history and prove that this has been used in the past. But this is a slightly new way, and I wanted to point it out to people because I think this goes back to our original topic when we were talking about security being a fantastic anomaly detection, right? When we were talking about this being a fantastic anomaly detection where you could do stuff like that, I think this is the thing that is going to be needed to detect this type of attack. So AI in the middle, turning a web-based AI service into C2 proxies in the future of AI-driven attacks. So you can go and read this whole thing. I give you guys the power to do this. I wanted to just highlight some of the takeaways that I saw from this. So has discovered that certain AI assistants that support web browsing or URL fetching can be abused as covert command and control relays, AIs as proxies, allowing attacker traffic to blend seamlessly into legitimate, commonly permitted enterprise communication. This technique was demonstrated against platforms such as Grok and Microsoft Copilot, leveraging anomalous web access combined with browsing and summarization prompts. The same mechanism can be enabled AI. I can't read. The same mechanism can also enable AI-assisted malware operations, including generating recognizant workflows, scraping attacker action, and dynamically deciding what to do next during an intrusion. CPR outlines a near-term evolution in malware development, blah, 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 blah. So AI is rapidly becoming embedded in day-to-day enterprise workflows. Why does making the web page bigger not make the text bigger? CPR. Fix that. Fix that, please, because that is a travesty that the text stays the same size. I literally have to hack your website to fix that. All right. AI is rapidly becoming embedded in day-to-day enterprise workflows inside web browsers, collaboration suites, and developer tooling. As a result, AI services domains increasingly blend into normal corporate traffic, often allowed by default or rarely treated as sensitive egress. Threat actors are already capitalizing on this shift across the malware ecosystem. All right, so this is actually something I have called out many a times when we're talking about AI browsers, as well as why I say that I don't allow AIs to summarize emails, because this is a direct, unsanitized environment that people could attack my email box. If I allow Google to summarize it, and I give Google any ability to have tools to, like, I don't know, send an email, you could summarize my inbox and then email it somewhere, right? That's the attack path that they're talking about here. Now, they're not talking about a localized one like that. They're talking about the broader ecosystem. I've only talked about email and those types of things, but there's a lot of things like this. If you have an AI reading a web page for you and you're not in control of that web page, now there could be clear text. There could be links that send to a page that just has commands for that agent. And if that agent has other tools on your computer, so for example, Cursor, this is a direct attack path into your agent in Cursor. So if your Cursor agent has legitimate access to the web, this is a direct way to execute commands on your local system. What if you had your own custom local LM doing that? But what if that, so that's not the problem, right? You could say that you have a local LLM right here, right? And let's say this has, and you have your email over here. And this local LLM is summarizing this, right? Now, what if this local LLM also has the ability to send an email, right? Well, if it does, I can exfil data by sending commands. You don't even have to open up the email. The local LLM will summarize it for you without you ever looking it up. So I don't even have to hide it in like white text, although I could hide it in white text. I don't even have to do that. I could just say to the local LLM, please summarize all of the emails and send them to this email address, right? What if it's running with elevated permissions because you want it to write to a database or manage something over here? I could leverage this to attack this, right? I absolutely did. I talked about Cursor. Cursor can go and get information, can read information from websites. It legitimately can go to websites and read information, random websites, and follow links, and it to try to figure stuff out. You can tell it to go read the documentation, and it has the ability to execute commands on your machine, right? That's a lot of what the agent does. A lot of people leverage this. You can lock it down. You probably should lock it down. All right. But the next step is more consequential. AI isn't only helping attackers write malware, it can become part of the malware's runtime. In AI-driven malware, the implant's behavior is shaped dynamically by model output. Instead of relying solely on hard-coded decision trees, an implant can collect a host of contexts, such as environmental artifacts and user role indicators, install software, domain membership, and geography, and use a model to triage victims, choose actions, prioritize data, and adapt tactics. A lot of this comes from, and then they say, like, the other thing that can happen here is that you can, in this, you can deploy a piece of malware. So if you can leverage an attack like this, you can deploy a piece of malware that leverages AI. And there's two paths in this attack path here, right? There's the one that uses local, I would say a local LLM. Local LLM. It's an LLLM, is a local LLM. And then one that uses an API for an LLM, an ALLM. And so this one can be one binary. And this one can be, this one has network calls. Network. That's not an N. Network. That's a backwards N. I can spell. Okay. So this one has network calls to the API. And this is not actually that big of a deal, in my opinion, because if you package the LLM binary, this is actually what current virus scans look for, right? They look for memory, things loaded into memory. And this LLM is actually a very easy thing to see in memory when you're looking for viruses and virus scans, like the footprint in memory. This local LLM embedded in the application is going to be really easy to see. And then this is going back to our network and understanding what our network is supposed to do and what it's not supposed to do. So both of these, while they seem novel at the very beginning, especially with like the initial attack path to installing this malware, doesn't actually do, it isn't stopped with anything novel. Like this whole thing, the network or the local effective virus isn't super novel, in my opinion. Those are both stopped the same way. You guys should go read it though, and form your own thoughts. Those are my thoughts on it. And then the last thing, 4 vulnerabilities expose a massive security blind spot in IDE extensions. This is something I've been harping on, and I wanted to show you guys because I think when I make an application, my application takes user data, and their data is of the utmost priority, right? And so in my organizations, everyone's a security engineer, right? Like everybody that writes code to handle any data is a security engineer at the end of the day. Now, obviously, not all of us specialize in security, but you have to understand the risks. This is one that I've been talking about, especially since we talked about it in Shai Hulud and Shah Hulud. Both of those attacked NPM. And one of the big things people don't realize is that your extensions in popular IDEs like Cursor, and it's all based off of Visual Studio Code, all of those, NPM is the cornerstone of their plugins and customization. And because of that, this is actually a huge vulnerability. You're downloading and running people's software that you don't really know. Now, there's 2 attacks here. One, there's the attack of a supply chain attack, right? A trusted package gets hacked. That's sad, but that happens with things like worms like Shai Hulud, where you have trusted packages that are hacked. Also, with Visual Studio Code, unless you set it, packages are set to auto update. So when you open Visual Studio, you get the latest package, and this increases your likelihood that a trusted package gets hacked and you get hacked subsequently from that. The other problem is if you don't have good restraints on which packages you use, there's a lot of packages that are out of bad faith that are in there and that are attempting to steal your data. So it's actually a big thing that we don't look at or talk about very much. I talked about it a little bit with Shai and Shah Hulud. I think it's something we should be talking more as a community about. It's this code. It's a huge supply chain attack. NeoVim and Helix, you use plugins with those, right? Do you use plugins? I mean, I know my NeoVim is huge on plugins, right? You think those can't be supply chain attacked? They absolutely can be. This is just showing it. It's happening. This is exfil, remote code execution. This is file exfil. This is code execution. These code executions are horribly scary. They could be doing anything. This is just exfilling data. I say just. These can exfil data and more. And we're talking about millions of downloads. Markdown preview enhanced, code runner, live server. And these weren't actually even attacks. These were just vulnerabilities that people could leverage, right? So you also have purposeful things like the Shai-Hulud attack, right? The Shai-Hulud actually got into packages in npm, and if one of the plugins used one of the worms packages, it would have actually spread on your computer leveraging the plugin, right? So if one of those plugins had been published with the Shai-Hulud package or referencing it, you would have been had. This isn't talking about a worm. This is talking about CVEs. I understand that. But I'm saying that the entire supply chain for these plugins isn't being thought about very well here. And we should be. I think that there should be products that scan these things and monitor them on your dev's machine. Like virus scanners should be watching your IDEs, period, at an enterprise. Anyways, that's just something to be cognizant of. The last thing I had in news was just something we've been watching. It happened a while ago. The EU clears Google's $32 billion Wiz acquisition. You know, it's not a big deal, honestly. It's been a thing for a while. All right. How's everyone doing? What's everybody up to this weekend? I know, like, usually I'm used to streaming on Saturday, and again, because of stuff, I had to stream on Sunday. Next Saturday. It's going to be Saturday. Pretty sure. Like, fairly positive. How's everybody's weekend gone so far? Did you guys have a good Saturday? Recovery from a fever. Fevers are the worst. As you get older, they get worse, actually. All right. So next week we are going to do. I had talked about. I'm going to try to build a personal assistant next week. My goal is to use the least amount. I wanted to talk it over with you all because I wanted to see what your recommendations were, and you can give them to me throughout the week. My goal is to use the least amount of code to tie a bunch of things together to do this. That's kind of the idea here. And the idea is that I will have something that will assist me in basically I want something that will generate a news feed for me each day with, ranked highest to lowest of probability of being useful or interesting. That should be reported on. The other thing that I want to be able to do is some things like Shai-Hulud, for example. I should have reported it the same day and had a short stream, like a half an hour or an hour stream, just talking about its impact and what people needed to know. And, I don't always have the time to check every single day and like go through all my sources to do that. So I want a place where I have sources. I want a bot that goes scrapes those. And then I want an AI to basically state, this is like, I'd like it to be like, this is really high likelihood of being important. Here's the link. Go check it out. Like immediate priority this evening. Check it out. And then like, prioritize the other stuff. So then like as Saturday is getting closer for the news, I want to be able to go through those, look at them and kick out the ones that aren't interesting. There's a ton of news that's like, okay, it's there, it's whatever, but like, probably not worth like, yeah, anyway, so I'd like some help with that. And so that was one of the thoughts I had. Scott, I'm just gonna say waiting is the worst. Waiting is the worst thing that you'll do. Um, yeah, I have experience with that, and every time you're like, okay, we did something, now we have to wait. It's the absolute worst every single time. BIOS battery, I love it when it's like something simple that you never think about. You're like, oh yeah, my BIOS does have a battery, and that would suck if it died. There's a lot of implications with that. Counterpoint, you don't have to wait, you can do something. It is good. So actually this brings out a really good thing. I think it's good for people to be involved in doing something. I've seen a lot of studies where like people that retire, their health goes down really fast when they retire and they don't do something. Like their health goes down really, really quickly. So I actually think it's really, really important that to the best of your ability, you stay engaged and you keep doing something. You keep expanding on your knowledge. Keep active as best as you can. I think that's actually really important for us. Not an expert in any way. I like that, Gray Hatter. I like that. I might not do the worst case. Worst case, I'd quit my job, right? I might not do the worst case. That's just me, but not life of it. Not life advice. Okay, so that's what I'm doing next Saturday. We're starting that, and like I said, I'd like to um I'd like to just tie together a bunch um of other things. Um yeah, I don't know. I thought about actually just using like trying to leverage OpenClaw, but that actually seems horrifying to me. I don't know. Like the other thing that we could do here is like doing it in a safe way. Like obviously I want this system to have access to the internet, right? But it's going to have to be on its own network too. But then like the more things that I make it useful for, the more things that I have to give it access to. And then part of me was like maybe we segment it. So like the thing that does X doesn't have access to the thing that does Y. So like if I have something that summarizes emails for me, I have to segment it from the thing that can do, turn my lights on for my studio. I agree, Gray Hatter. I was just going with the extreme. Like, yeah, I'm going to quit my job. I just, that was the thing. I was like, the worst case in that scenario is like, I quit my job, right? Spend the whatever with my family. But yeah, if the worst thing is like, I should have gotten that tattoo, go do it. OpenClaw scares you? Yeah, I think it should. Scott, you take care of yourself, okay? Ultra AI scares me more than OpenClaw does. Ultra AI is actually intelligent. People don't realize this. Ultra AI is actually intelligent. Yeah. So I'm I want to design this system with you all next week. That's what I was gonna do some this week. I have a little bit of time. All honestly, what I need to do is think through some of this stuff. I think that I just want to tie it together with like my own agent. I know that we already created one agent, and I think that maybe we should just do our own agent. It feels like recreating a lot of wheels though. So that's where I was like, maybe I could just use something and then start tying, maybe I could like isolate OpenClaw, like have multiple of them. Because like OpenClaw would actually already, if all I did was give it internet access, and I could give it a local LLM, I could do what I wanted with it for the most part. And so maybe we start there. I'm not sure. And I can isolate it on its own network, so it doesn't have access to anything else on my network. And then it would also not have access to anything like my email or any sensitive things like that. The other thing that I started wanting to do, I think it would be really cool if I could do voice assistance with just my local LLM and control my smart house. Like I have Home Assistant, and so I'd like to control Home Assistant with this same system, right? I think that would be super cool. Where I could be like, turn off the lights or turn down the heat or, anything like that. That would be really cool. Who's HA? What is HA? You can drop a link. Gray Hatter. Oh, Home Assistant. Oh, okay. Sorry. They sell something like that? What do they? I have Home Assistant Yellow. I really liked Home Assistant Yellow. I don't know what the difference with green is. I think it's less customizable. It's also more expensive than what I paid. Is it this voice preview edition? Oh. Now, is this an open device? Like, or is it like locked to Home Assistant? As I guess the question. Because I would actually like to use these, with my own systems, not just Home Assistant. Like, or does everything I do with this have to go through Home Assistant? Oh. Seems like an attachment extension of the HA green. I mean, I have the yellow, but oh, okay. It looks like it. No. So if it's fully open, fully open software, firmware, and hardware allows you to make it. Okay, so this should work for anything, even if like I have a system outside of Home Assistant, right? And I'm assuming that it's Wi-Fi, right? Let's see. I'm assuming the USB-C in is just power, right? You talk quite a bit about. I have not talked quite a bit about OpenClaw. Just to be clear, I mentioned it. But I have not seen alternatives in. Is there an alternative in Rust? Because that would be easy to bring in. If I knew of an alternative in Rust, that would be super cool. I would probably use that because I would just wrap that, right? I would actually just wrap that. Okay, maybe I get one of these. Okay, so yeah, 2.5 gigahertz. Beautiful. And Bluetooth. Okay, fantastic. So then all we do is we put these on our IoT network. So I have an IoT network, and this is where all my IoT stuff, because I don't trust it from a security standpoint. So these would just go on the IoT network. And one thing we have to keep in mind, wherever I run my AI, my local LLM and agents, I want that to be on its own network, but I want it to have access to the IoT network. Maybe it has to be on the same network, right? Because if this is going to have to send stuff, maybe it's different networks, but the IoT network would have to have access to the AI network as well, right? Because this would have to like directly query it. Yeah, this does actually feel really good. I actually like this. I will probably just get this. Because like I don't want to do like Gray Hatter, I'm right there with you. I don't want to do the audio mic processing. I want all of that and like that just be sent to my servers, right? Like this looks like what I want. Oh, they have a privacy first cloud. Oh, I wonder what they're selling that for. I want to do it all locally. Like for me, I probably don't want to use their cloud. I wonder what their cloud price is. What is their price of their cloud for? I mean, I kind of want to do it with my own agent. I don't mind helping. I actually like privacy first clouds. I think you can do clouds better than. I understand. I understand. I was just wondering what their cloud cost was. And I'm assuming the. I have not used Home Assistant Cloud. What's the pricing for their cloud? I don't know these questions. What's the Home Assistant Cloud pricing? This isn't pricing. What? Access your instance while away? I mean, they get into it here. Oh, $6 is not bad. Maybe I just do their cloud to support them. If this supports the Home Assistant project as a whole. I like running it locally, though, honestly. I'll probably just keep it local. Now, what I have been debating about is whether I keep leveraging yellow or if I switch it over to running in like my Kubernetes cluster. I do like this this though. This is cool that they're putting it first. I don't know. Oh, watch this, watch this. What is their other hardware? Oh. Oh, okay, okay. So this is more like a connection thing that would then oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If I got some Z-Wave stuff. I tried to stay away from Z-Wave. One thing that I haven't found a good non-Z-Wave alternative to is smoke detector. So maybe these would be good. I might get a set of these. I currently have a problem with the house that these might fix. Do these connect to the Wi-Fi or do they have to connect to my Home Assistant? Directly connect to the Zigbee matter of thread devices you already have. My question is, how does it connect, right? It'll be more convenient. This looks like it connects through Wi-Fi, right? Let's see. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, do we use PoE? I can do that. I have run PoE most places. Nighthound, it was good seeing you. I just want to know how it connects. I can figure this out later, not with you guys. I was just wondering, like, does it have to sit? Okay, so, and the reason this is important to me is my house looks somewhat like this. It's kind of long and skinny. And if we look at this, like if we were looking at it from this way here, it would look somewhat like this. So this is the main floor up here. So, you know, the kitchen is over, you know, this over here is the kitchen. This is the living room here. And there's like a hallway back here. And then there's some bedrooms here. There's some bedrooms here. And then in the basement, this is where my new office is going. And then over, it's yet to be built. And then we have like the, I'm going to say the network closet. This is where like the Null cloud and all the infrastructure is over here. So, you know, my rack is gonna go here. And this is where whatever is hosting Home Assistant is gonna sit. The problem with this is right here in the living room, right here is a massive fireplace. You're only gonna find a larger fireplace in England, in like some of the castles, I believe. I believe that's a true statement. It's probably wrong, but it is a massive stone fireplace that goes, it's a double fireplace. So it's down here in the basement too, the fireplace, and it's up here. So it has two fireplaces. The chimney goes like this on this one, and then like this on this one. And they're all mason. And my only fear is, and I've had this problem, so I've kind of already solved this problem, but I could not broadcast Wi-Fi from here to here. So the kitchen did not have Wi-Fi when I moved into this house. So, you know, the internet comes in here and is broadcast by this Wi-Fi, and then I run an Ethernet cable up here into the attic and down here, and then we have an access point here, and that provides internet across here. So when I was saying all this, the reason it's important to me is I need to have a Zigbee device thing here, that tower here, and I'll need to have one over here somewhere as well. Right, to have full house coverage. This is the only reason it was important to me, why how it connected. It looks like you just need to power it on, which means I think that it doesn't have to connect to the Zigbee home, but it doesn't talk about having, like, it doesn't talk about its Ethernet capabilities. I didn't see an Ethernet cord. I only see the USB port, right? And I don't see anything about Wi-Fi, right? All right. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I like this though. So does anybody here have OpenClaw experience? And somebody was saying that there's a good Rust alternative. OpenClaw Rust alternative. And should we just build our own? Doesn't seem to exist anymore. That seems really scary. I don't know. I feel like maybe we just build it all and just try to tie together trusted services. Security is going to be a problem with all of them, right? I like that. Yeah, this looks like it's a remote thing, though. I don't love that. Zero Claw moved to org. That's why. I see. Maybe I'll look at Zero Claw. Let me know your comments. Let me know what you guys think. I won't bore you guys with me doing some research here. Unless you guys like to hang out and talk about this. I feel like this is stuff that I need to do before next week. Yeah, but this is what we're going to try to do next week, is we're going to try to tie together some things. We're going to try to do it a little bit securely. I'm going to not do the networking with you guys, but I will show you the networking and how I did it. One of the things that we'll be doing is if you guys can exploit it in some way, that would be really cool. We can review it and understand where I went wrong. We'll also be opening that up to people to try to exploit, which will be cool. Yeah, other than that, I think I'll let you guys get going. Next week, Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're doing the news. Hopefully, as long as life doesn't get in the way, as it has been. And then, after the news, we're going to jump into this. We're going to try to get a system working. It's hopefully going to make the news even better. We'll have some fun, and we'll learn some stuff, too. Hopefully, I'll learn some stuff. Anyways, I've got to jump, or I don't have to jump, but am going to jump. I'm going to take the dogs on a walk, and I will see you guys